Welcome to vTechTalks, a video series of short, practical tips and tricks to help you on your journey to the hybrid cloud.
Hello, my name is Jenny Fong, and welcome to this week's vTechTalk. In this video, I'm going to highlight how you can deploy Bitnami open source templates into vCloud Air, and how you can set up role-based access control for different virtual data centers within vCloud Air on demand. I'm logged into the VPC On Demand dashboard where I've renamed one of the virtual data centers to Project 1. I can always create new virtual machines in this virtual data center using the templates that are available. I can choose between a SQL 2014 template or even the VMware Photon tech preview template. However, in this demo, we're going to look at how we do a different type of application. First, to make it work with the application I intend to use, I need to add a public IP address to this gateway. So I browse to the Gateway tab to Public IPs and add an IP address. This means that our gateway can now be connected to the external internet, where we have full control over the security of what can come in and out of that gateway by adding NAT rules and firewall rules. But for now, we just need to make sure that an IP address is added. If we look at the Networks tab, we see a default routed network was created and is now connected to that public IP address. Now that we've completed our networking configuration, we can start building applications into our vCloud Air environment. Instead of building a virtual machine from scratch and uploading the applications we want to that operating system, we're going to use a Bitnami open source template for a full, complete application that takes only a few minutes to set up. So I use the shortcut link here to access the Bitnami Launchpad for vCloud Air. And from here, we can choose among dozens of different applications that are available. For this demo, we'll use the WordPress application. So I choose the location or the region where I want to deploy this application, the virtual data center, which there is only one, and I do want to connect this application to the internet. I can also select different storage tiers and how much memory or compute resources I want to add to this application. Now we'll see that the Bitnami platform is transferring the images to our vCloud Air environment, and we'll complete all the steps so that we have a finished application at the end. So Bitnami is almost finished loading up the application, and when you see it complete, you'll actually notice that it's connected to the public IP address that we had set up earlier, and we have links to access both the full application as well as the administrative portal. So when I click on this link, you'll notice that we are accessing that IP address that we set up in vCloud Air. This is that public IP we attached to that edge gateway. And when I go there, I can view the entire WordPress server, and it's of course empty right now. I can click on the administrative tab and then use the credentials that was set up again by Bitnami. So using user and the password that it created. And we now have an admin portal for WordPress. And so you see, with just a few minutes of setup, we have a fully functioning WordPress application, and we can go in and change our passwords and add other users to it with just a few buttons. Back in the vCloud Air portal, we'll see the completed Bitnami WordPress virtual machine in Project 1. Let's go back to the Gateways tab though to see what exactly the Bitnami Launchpad did for us. And you'll see that during the integration, we had both NAT and firewalls created for us by the Bitnami Launchpad so that this application is publicly accessible via the internet. Now let's add a new virtual data center, and we'll call this one Project 2. As this gets deployed, the purpose of having a separate virtual data center is so that we have a completely independent networking space where we can add different virtual machines that are completely isolated from everything in Project 1. But again, we're going to jump into the Bitnami Launchpad and let's select a new application for project 2. And we're going to just set up a Tomcat server. So again, we press launch, we press the selection of the region, and this time we're going to choose project 2 as a virtual data center. Remember, I haven't added a public IP address to project 2, so we won't be able to actually connect this one to the internet. We can keep the other settings pretty much the same. We'll change the storage tier and then click create. That kicks off the Bitnami process. Just a few minutes later, we have a complete Tomcat server deployed into our Texas virtual data center. We can see that it's attached to a private IP address, and we can now go back to our vCloud dashboard. We can now see there are two applications, a WordPress server and a Tomcat server. One sits in project 1 and the Tomcat server sits in project 2. But if we were really doing these as two different projects, we would probably want to control who has access to those different projects or the different virtual data centers. So I can now edit the project settings so that I can make this virtual data center only permissible to me. And then in the WordPress virtual data center, I can choose a few people who can be administrators of this application. And so I go here and I press custom and I start selecting different users that will now have administrative control into project 1 virtual data center. So if any of these individuals were to log in, they would see that they have only visibility into project 1. They would not see project 2 and would not have the ability to make any changes or edits to project 2 and the virtual machines contained in that particular virtual data center. So we click save, and that's it. We now have role-based access control limited to a select group of people within two different virtual data centers, but both located within the same Texas location. Thanks for watching this week's episode of vTechTalk.